All right, this lesson is on solving systems with 3 equations and 3 unknowns. Okay, so to start with, on example 1, we are going to divide this last equation by 4, because if you'll notice, there's only one variable in this third equation, so I can easily solve that for z. So z is 2. Okay, now if you look at the second equation, you'll notice there's 2 variables. Well, if I take my 2 that I found for my z, then I can plug that in. I have y plus 3 times 2 equals 5, and now I can solve for y. So y is going to be -1. Okay, now that I have values for y and z, I can take both of these, substitute back into the very first equation. So this is going to be x minus 2y, y is -1, plus 3 times the z that I found. Okay, so then this is going to be x plus 2 plus 6 equals 9. X plus 8 equals 9. X is 1. Okay, so now I know all 3 values. So when you write your answer, instead of an ordered pair that you have with an x and a y coordinate, you are now going to do an ordered triple. So you're going to go x, y, z. So these systems would live in 3 dimensions, and what we've been used to doing is working in 2 dimensions. Okay, so this is now 3 dimensions. We can do similarly with example 2. I can divide by -3. That's going to give you the value of z. I can take z, plug it into the second equation. And then finally, I can take both y and z and plug them into the first equation so that I can solve for x. Okay, so it looks like I have 2, 3, and -3. Okay, so now example 3. Well, what if your equations are not in reduced, what if my system's not in reduced form? Okay, so we're going to have to turn it into that reduced form so that we can substitute back and find our ordered triple like we just did. Okay. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is decide if you want to get rid of x's, y's, or the z's. I'm going to go with the x's because if you notice these first two, if I add these first two equations together, when I add them, the x's are going to cancel immediately, and then I will get y plus 2z equals 4. Okay. All right, so now what we want to do is I'm still going to get rid of x's, but I need to choose 2 different equations. So I have to use the third equation, okay, because I haven't used it yet, and then one of the other 2 that I've used. I think I'll use the second one. Okay, now remember, we're getting rid of x's. So this time, okay, my third equation is 2x. I'm going to turn the second equation into a -2x. Okay, so I'm just going to multiply both sides of my equation by 2. All right, I'm going to leave the third equation alone. I'm going to multiply the second equation by the 2, and I'm just going to put the result here under this first one. And then don't forget to multiply both sides, so I got to do 1 times 2 also. Okay, now you can see my x's are going to cancel. I have y plus 3z equals -1. So now what we've done is we have made a new system of equations by using this blue one we found first and this green one that have 2 variables. Okay, so now instead of working with 3 variables, we're working with 2 variables. Okay, so from here, I am going to get the y's to be opposites. So I need to multiply one of the equations by -1. I'm just going to go through and change the signs instead of like saying I'm multiplying by -1 and rewriting everything. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can add these 2 equations together. Those y's are going to cancel, and I get z equals -5. Okay, so there's your value for z. I'm now going to do what we did before. So I'm going to take this z. You have these green equations here. They're both y and z. So I'm going to take the -5 and put it into one of those. So I think I'm going to put it into this equation here. So this would be y plus 3 times -5 equals 6. So y minus 15 equals 6. Y, add 15. Looks like we get 21. Okay, hang on a second. That is not what I have written on my paper. I may have made a mistake. Make sure I put the z in. Oh, I wrote equals 6. I have no idea where the 6 came from. Hang on. Should be equal to, wait a minute. How about equal to -1? That makes more sense. Okay, so add 15 to both sides and you get 14. Okay, so y is 14. So now, since I have the y and the z, I can go back up. I'm just going to use that first equation. X minus 2 times y is 14 plus 3 times z is -5 equals 3. So x minus 28 minus 15 equals 3. You get 46. So my ordered triple is 46, 14, and -5. Okay, now it just so happened that when I worked this one out, the remaining variable I had was z. Okay, and that's the way the first 2 systems were set up, was that z was the first variable that you found. Okay, so, but you don't have to. It doesn't matter which variable that you get to cancel out first, okay, and it doesn't matter which variable you have at the end that you solve for first. You just work your way back up the system. Okay, so let's do another one so you can see this a couple more times. Now, you'll notice on number 4, the second equation does not have a z. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a step ahead. Okay, so since the first equation doesn't have a, or the second equation doesn't have a z, I'm going to use that as, you know, to get me started. So I'm going to use the first one and the third one, and I'm going to get rid of z's also. Okay, so that's going to save me a step. I already have an equation that doesn't have z's in it, so now I'm going to use the first and third and do the same thing, get rid of z's. Okay, so here, the first equation you have a 3z, third equation you have a 5z. I need opposites. You're going to go with 15. Okay, so 15 is the least common multiple. So I'm going to multiply the first equation by 5. Okay, both sides. The second equation I'm going to multiply by a -3. Okay, because I got to have one of these be a -15. Okay, so this is where we're going to start. So this is going to be 5x minus 10y plus 15z equals 45. Oops. Okay, so then this third equation is going to be -6x plus 15y minus 15z equals 17 times 3, so -51. Okay, so add these two equations together. Your 15z's, those cancel. I have negative x plus 5y equals negative 6. Okay, so now that second equation and this new equation I just found are going to be, I'm going to put those two together. Okay, so I'm now going to bring down this middle equation and put it here. So negative x plus 3y equals negative 4. Okay, so from here, I need to get rid of either the x's or I need to get rid of the y's. Well, my x's are both negative 1, so I think I will go with the x's. I can just multiply one of these equations by negative 1 by just changing the signs. Okay, and now when I add them together, my x's are going to cancel out. I'll have 2y equals negative 2, so y is negative 1. Okay, so this time it was the y that we found. Okay, so then I'm just going to use that y. I've got two equations to choose from that have two terms, the x and the y. So I'm just going to take one of those. I'm going to plug, oops. So I'm going to go negative x plus 5 times negative 1 equals negative 6. Okay, so negative x minus 5 equals negative 6. Negative x equals negative 1. X is going to be positive 1. So now, again, I can take my x and my y. I would go back to one of my original equations. I think I'll use this last one. So my x is 1, my y is negative 1, and now I can solve for z. So I get 5z equals 10, z equals 2. So my ordered triple x, y, z. Okay, I went ahead and started example 5. Same thing happens as what we had on example 4. So you have one of your equations that doesn't have an x. So I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use my first and third equation to get rid of my x's. So I multiplied the first equation by negative 2, brought it down here. When I added the equations together, the x's canceled. And so now I have two equations with a y and a z. Okay, so then I brought this middle equation down so I can work with these two equations together. Okay, so here I think I'll just go ahead and get rid of the y's. I have a negative 3y, so that means I can multiply this other equation by 3. Okay, and it's going to become 3y minus 3z equals 0. I'll bring this equation down, okay, and add them together. So my y's are going to cancel. 5z equals 15, z is 3, and now then you can work on your back substitution. I think I'll use this one. So I'm going to have y minus my z equals 0. So y is going to be 3, and now I can go back to one of my originals. I'm going to put this one in the first equation. And I get x is 5. So I have the ordered triple, 5, 3, 3. Okay, so if you want to try number 6, you can try that one on your own. The ordered triple for it that you're going to get is 3, 0, -2. So if you want to try that one,